Gaming as an industry has undergone substantial changes over the past few decades. Multiplayer and shooter titles now dominate gaming. Mobile games have brought the pastime to new audiences, and video games are seldom bought in stores, but rather online. The digital distribution model has become an increasingly common, popular, and trusted means of getting the latest games. While a number of online storefronts and launchers exist, one distributor stands out among the rest: Steam. Since its launch in the early 2000s, Steam has gone on to completely dominate digital games and launchers. This is thanks both to the quality service Steam provides, but also because their competitors all kinda suck. Why is this? Why is Steam the top dog for digital games? Why do they face almost no competition? And more importantly, why has every other distributor or launcher been a total failure? Like and subscribe. The story of Steam is a tale of its many successes, but also of its competitors' many shortcomings. And to fully understand both, it's best to start at the very beginning. Steam was first unveiled and released for beta testing on March 22, 2002, at the annual Game Developers Conference. Steam's developer, Valve, wanted their platform to achieve three major things, with the first and foremost being to provide a platform for updating their games. In the pre-Steam era, and really before the internet was commonplace, patches for games weren't really a thing, or incredibly difficult to find online. Steam provided the novel system of a one-stop shop for game updates, and they'd be automatically installed as well. In addition, for multiplayer games like Counter-Strike, Steam would offer proper server browsers, anti-cheat, and anti-piracy measures. This brought a level of civilization to the then Wild West state of the internet, and was another draw to the service. Outside of just patching games, Valve wanted Steam to sell them as well. Valve realized high-speed internet was sure to increase throughout the aughts, and through polling learned that the majority of their audience already had high-speed internet. Having a digital distribution platform for their games would be accessible to their core audience, and it would also allow for easy access, downloads, and transfers of games from your Steam account. Finally, Valve wanted Steam to provide some sense of community for its members, and they would achieve this through dedicated forums and community sections. Its earliest incarnations were rudimentary, but they provided a one-stop shop for discussions, fixes to common problems, and some semblance of a community. Steam would launch its first public version on September 12, 2003, and the response was positive, yet mild. Steam was only super relevant if you were playing Counter-Strike or Day of Defeat, and the store itself just offered Valve titles you probably already had. Nonetheless, it got the job done, and Valve Steam was an early, if minor, success. All of this would drastically change with the release of the hotly anticipated Half-Life 2. One way or another, you had to use Steam to play Half-Life 2, either through purchasing it digitally on the platform, or having to verify your physical copy through Steam. The community's reaction to this was quite negative, especially when Valve's servers crashed due to the sheer number of verification requests. There was widespread frustration with Steam, a belief this sort of digital-only distribution platform would harm owners' rights and the games industry. There were also some concerns about those with poor internet actually getting to play the game. This was 2004, the internet was still a bit iffy in some areas. Fortunately, the community's anger would gradually subside, thanks in large part to the fact Half-Life 2 is one of the best games ever made. Ultimately, Valve was able to weather the storm around their magnum opus, and this in turn brought a huge number of people to Steam. Realizing their platform now had a gargantuan user base off of Half-Life 2, Valve decided to expand the scope of Steam. In 2005, Steam would offer their first third-party, non-Valve titles for purchase, Ragdoll Kung Fu and Darwinia. Neither of these titles were blockbuster mega hits or anything, but they signaled the direction Steam and the broader industry was heading. In the coming years, Steam would gradually increase its third-party library and begin distributing games from larger and more prestigious studios. The privilege of publishing on Steam would not be exclusive to these more established brands either. You'd see Steam Greenlight in 2012, which allowed the community to vote on various small and indie games to be added to the platform. Greenlight would be replaced with Steam Direct in 2017, which allowed anyone to publish games on Steam so long as they paid an application fee. In this time, Steam also dramatically expanded their social and community features, adding direct messaging, friends lists, group pages, achievements, marketplaces for in-game items, and mod downloads for various games. In addition to Steam's robust library and community features, Steam became renowned for its many deals and sales. From seasonal store-wide deals, to sales for a particular publisher, to random discounts on random games, Steam has helped keep gaming accessible, whether you're new to the hobby or a die-hard fan. Now in 2023, Steam is the one-stop shop for all things PC gaming. Their library is second to none, their consumer practices are frankly commendable, and it's completely dominated their competition. While Steam is unquestionably today's primary digital distributor, they aren't the only, nor were they the first in the niche. Digital distribution platforms and game launchers had existed as early as the 90s, with game developer Cavedog being an early example. From their titular website, free and paid DLCs for their hit RTS Total Annihilation were available for download as early as 1997. The Cavedog label really only provided support for Total Annihilation, however, and the service would be scuttled when they filed for bankruptcy in 2000. The next major distributor would come out the same year as Steam, Stardock Central. Its developer, Stardock, had ambitions very similar to Steam with this application, namely for it to provide a storefront and updates for their games. While the features between Steam and Stardock Central were similar, Steam had one distinct advantage over its nascent competition: popularity. The many titles on Valve's Steam, Team Fortress, Counter-Strike, and the illustrious Half-Life 1 and 2 were all incredibly popular from the late 90s through the aughts. Contrast this with Stardock's then offerings, titles like The Corporate Machine or Galactic Civilizations. These games were well made and well received, but much more niche compared to Valve and Steam's titles. Furthermore, the move to require Steam for Half-Life 2 may have cost Valve some goodwill, but ultimately gave Steam a massive early install base, far larger than Stardock Central. The end result was a rich-get-richer situation. Steam did everything Stardock Central did, but had far more people on the platform, attracting both gamers and developers. Stardock Central would eventually be succeeded by Impulse in 2008, an updated, more robust platform developed by Stardock proper. Stardock had secured distribution and publishing deals for their new Impulse, but were ultimately unable to challenge Steam's primacy. Finally, Impulse would be sold off to GameStop in 2011, scuttled in 2014, and replaced with GameStop's own PC client, which is a thing apparently. In summary, the death of Stardock Central and its later incarnations is unique and kinda unfortunate. It didn't have fewer or worse features compared to Steam, at least initially. It just lacked the clout and prestige to compete with Valve in its prime. However, the same cannot be said for basically every other launcher out there. Their failures compared to Steam are more than apparent. So, let's go through some of them. One of the other early distributors was Games for Windows Live, first launched in 2007. The platform was essentially a storefront and launcher for Microsoft games, offering limited third-party support and crossplay with select Xbox titles. Games for Windows Live existed, and would ultimately be replaced with the Microsoft Store in 2014, which still exists. Neither platform offers anything particularly unique, being just a walled garden for Microsoft and Xbox exclusives, with none of the features offered by Steam. It's great if you want to play Minecraft or Halo Infinite, but is otherwise unnecessary. Just as Microsoft established a nigh-pointless launcher for their games, so too did EA and Origin. Origin, launched in 2011, was initially pegged as a legitimate competitor to Steam, another platform for games and basic community. Rather than lean into this perception and go this direction with Origin, EA treated their platform with general indifference. It's a place where you can get the latest copy-pasted sports game or disappointing Battlefield game, and it has around 1% the games available on Steam. Origin's mediocrity aside, it's also been embroiled in numerous controversies since its inception, like not encrypting private chats, banning users for being slightly rude in multiplayer, banning users for being slightly rude in forums, banning users for posting links on forums, just randomly banning users, preventing users from playing games they purchased if they got banned, spying on users' computers, having a EULA so transparently invasive it got thrown out in Germany and got EA in legal trouble, and many more. All in all, Origin, or now the EA app, is unimpressive and untrustworthy in equal measure. Just another random application gatekeeping select games, and nothing more. At the very least, however, it's not as broken, messy, and unreliable as Ubisoft's offering, Ubisoft Connect. Launched in 2009 as Uplay, the platform was immediately panned for having anti-consumer always-online features and a rootkit, and very little else. The controversy and distaste towards Ubisoft Connect has continued to this day, with their most recent PR disaster being their deletion of inactive accounts. It goes without saying that revoking access to purchase content on an operational platform is at best unethical and at worst illegal. However, Ubisoft has never been known for its pro-consumer practices, nor its mere capacity to treat human beings with respect. Thus far, we've looked at a number of minor and mostly proprietary distributors, all of which largely unnecessary and equally unpopular. However, there exists one major publisher that actually does present some competition for Steam, the Epic Games Store. Compared to the many other launchers just trying to maximize profits on their exclusives, Epic Games developed their storefronts with more noble intentions. Since the very beginning, Steam has taken a 30% cut on all third-party game sales as part of being hosted on the platform. The head of Epic, Tim Sweeney, believes such a revenue split to be needlessly high for developers, and claim you could operate such a storefront at a much lower rate. In late 2018, the Epic Games Store was launched in the hopes of achieving this lofty goal. Rather than the industry standard 30%, EGS takes a much more generous 12% revenue split, and will also cover the licensing fee for Epic's Unreal Engine 4. While the policies and support systems offered by EGS are respectable, directly competing with the already established Steam would be a challenge. To set EGS apart and actually bring people in, Epic would implement two unique systems. First off, there would be a weekly rotation of games given away for free by Epic. No strings attached, just add it to your account, and it's yours forever. Epic's able to do this by paying a flat fee to the developer to make their game free for a limited period. This has brought in users in the tens of millions, and while Epic doesn't plan on keeping this system forever, it's been one of their most liked features. It's also their only liked feature, as Epic's other unique offering has been exclusivity contracts with various game developers. Developers who exclusively sold their game on EGS, and only for an initial period mind you, would receive guaranteed minimum revenues and support from Epic in its development. While this was a mutually beneficial relationship for Epic and many developers, gamers at large were infuriated. A number of games slated for a Steam release ended up exclusively on Epic due to these contracts, and their respective communities made their discontent well known. While the reactions were in many cases overkill, there were some legitimate issues with EGS over Steam, especially in the beginning. The early Epic Games Store lacked certain basic features, like user reviews, the mods and community forums found at Steam, shopping carts, and even a search function for games. Modern Epic has addressed a few of these issues, but still offers fewer features compared to Steam, and bizarrely draws a large amount of power for a simple storefront application. Furthermore, there remain concerns surrounding Epic's owners and investors, namely the Chinese media conglomerate Tencent. While Tim Sweeney owns the majority of Epic, Tencent isn't far off at 40%, and has proportional representation on Epic's board of directors. Given the fact Tencent collaborates heavily with the CCP, and also that the Chinese government is a tad authoritarian, concerns were raised over potential collusion and intrusion. While there's no smoking gun showing EGS to be Chinese spyware or anything, reports and analyses have observed the launcher scanning and scraping data from basically your entire computer. Since this can't be an accident, there remains an enduring distrust of Epic in much of the gaming community. While its free games bring many gamers over, and its exclusivity deals force over just as many, the Epic Games Store remains second banana to Steam. The question at this point is just, why? Why are there so many different launchers and storefronts, varied only in their inferiority to Steam? The answer here is quite simple: greed, a trait endemic to modern corporate game studios. Having your own launcher means you get to avoid the 30% revenue cut from Steam, and need only to maintain the service itself. Selling on Steam is thus a potential source of lost revenue, assuming your independent platform is equivalently popular, of course. On a more underhanded level, these applications and services often require a phone number or email address to sign up for them. This is data these companies collect, then use for directly marketing their own products, or just to sell in the open market. Selling their games through Steam would prevent them from collecting more and more of your personal data, and that's just money on the table, right? These companies are totally fine with their inferior, money-first platforms, primarily because they don't care about their consumers. Steam has proven itself to be the best one-stop gaming shop, and no other storefront has the same feature suite nor panoply of games at the offer. However, because most corporate game studios are singularly, disgustingly obsessed with their bottom line, they'd rather not make the simplest pro-consumer choice imaginable. The question now is how? How are these companies even able to get away with their trash platforms? The answer here is similarly simple: exclusives. Many of these large studios own several massive game series, like Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed or Epic's Fortnite. These IPs would attract gamers to any platform they were on, so making them exclusive to the parent company's storefronts guarantees full revenue from them. To that end, Everything outside of selling their exclusives is almost an afterthought for these platforms, hence their overwhelming mediocrity and unpopularity. To close this off, and after 15 or so minutes of bigging up Steam, I feel it's important to point out that it's not perfect. Steam is not the only worthwhile digital storefront out there, nor should it be. Competition is valuable in any industry, and while Steam is one of the exceedingly rare cases where a monopolistic figure provides the best service, it still has some flaws. The aforementioned revenue split of 30% is one such issue. It's perhaps too high in this day and age, plus it's not like Valve is strapped for cash or anything. This makes the shortcomings and issues with Epic kinda sad. Their desire to provide legitimate competition with Steam is commendable, and the revenue model is much more generous for developers. Outside of these revenue issues, Steam has also received criticism for its use of digital rights management, or DRM. There are legitimate concerns about the actual ownership of games with DRM systems, and worries you won't be able to access them if Steam ever closes its doors. Fortunately, there are a couple digital distributors which directly address this, mainly by having zero DRM, GOG, and Humble Bundle. GOG, launched in 2008 as Good Old Games, was the first DRM-free platform to be developed. As per the name, it focused primarily on older titles from the 90s and the aughts, and provided a reasonable alternative to Steam. 2 years later, you'd see Humble Bundle, which would also provide DRM-free games, but through their Humble Bundles. You'd be able to purchase a number of games at a rebated price, and a portion of the proceeds would go to charity. While neither GOG nor Humble Bundle have the same volume of games nor the breadth of features offered by Steam, their alternate business models provide a valuable service nonetheless. With that being said, and to finally wrap things up, Steam is a truly impressive platform amongst a sea of disappointments. Rather than craft a bare-bones, semi-functional platform to sell the latest Battlefield or whatever, Valve created Steam to provide a robust and holistic gaming experience, and at a good price too. This care is the reason for their success, and the lack thereof is why just about every other distributor or launcher has been a total failure. Hey, thanks for reaching the end, and I hope you enjoyed this vid. Steam is a platform we're all familiar with, and for good reasons. Many of the other platforms listed here are also well known, but for less suspicious reasons. Here I hope to discuss the formation of these many different platforms, along with what set them apart, both good and bad. I hope I provided a decent overview and background on Steam, along with its many deficient competitors. Maybe leave me a little comment with your thoughts. With that out of the way, shake hands with the like, hug the subscribe button, and that bell. Until next time, take care.